This is a foreshadowing for the Prime Minister of what is going to come under a Trump administration. They will be derailed almost every day by something that the President says or what the White House releases or a decision that they make that is going to distract from what it is the government wants to talk about. I mean, we had situations in Downing Street where Trump would wander out onto the White House lawn in front of the cameras and say, oh, something's happened in the UK, I'm going to go and call Theresa. And suddenly the phone would ring in the Prime Minister's office. Oh, God, the President's on the phone. And this is a foreshadowing for it.
Reform UK has re-emerged at the centre of Britain's political debate, and this time the shift is striking. The party's new direction has not only drawn fresh scrutiny, but also captured the attention of global figures. Even Elon Musk has weighed in. At the heart of this moment is more than party politics. What's unfolding cuts to the core of two fundamental questions: justice and free speech. These aren't side issues. They shape the very foundations of democracy in the United Kingdom. That makes this a moment the public cannot afford to overlook. Before we continue our analysis, a brief note: if you find this coverage valuable, do consider subscribing to the channel and liking this video. Your support allows us to bring you clear, in-depth reporting on the issues that matter most.
It is pretty embarrassing for Britain to have the special relationship that we have, and everybody knows we have it, with the United States of America, but Donald Trump has seen fit not to invite Sir Keir Starmer, no doubt because of his views on Donald Trump, no doubt because of David Lammy's sayings on Donald Trump, maybe indeed because of Sadiq Khan's protestations about what a horrible man Donald Trump is. You know, you can't mess around.
What happens when one of the world's most polarizing figures makes a move that feels less like diplomacy and more like retribution? Consider this: Donald Trump, defined by his unapologetic manner and fierce sense of loyalty, pointedly shuts the door on Sir Keir Starmer, the UK Labour leader, excluding him from one of the year's most critical meetings. This is not a routine diplomatic slight. It is a deliberate rebuke with consequences that reach far beyond the room itself. Denying Starmer a seat at the table sends a message impossible to ignore. It is more than a breach of protocol. It is a signal of intent. The symbolism is striking. A leader who speaks for one of the world's most influential nations, sidelined at a moment that demands inclusion. The implications ripple outward, unsettling alliances, testing international relationships, and forcing a deeper question: what does this mean for the future of global diplomacy? To answer that, we must examine the history between Trump and Starmer, a relationship forged in tension, defined by political and ideological fault lines, and perhaps scarred by a sense of betrayal that neither side has been willing to set aside.
And next Monday, when Donald Trump is inaugurated as the 47th President of the United States of America, I consider it to be a massive stain on British history that our Prime Minister will not be there. Let's ask Tobias Ellwood what he makes of it. Tobias, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
It's pretty awful, is it not, that, you know, here we are, supposedly the friend of the United States, the special relationship that exists between the two countries, the long history of support for one another in times of war and in times of peace, and we don't have a seat at the table.
This is not simply a tale of two leaders. It is a story of two nations, bound by a shared past and tied inexorably to a common future. Yet the dynamic has shifted, and the twist lies in Donald Trump's refusal to play by convention. Trump does not operate within the traditional playbook of diplomacy. He acts on instinct, and when challenged, his response is rarely rhetorical. It is decisive, often disruptive. This latest diplomatic snub is more than a headline. It is a moment that demands scrutiny. In the coming analysis, we will examine the motives driving this move, the ripples it is sending across the Atlantic, and the deeper question it poses: what future now awaits the relationship between Washington and London?
We've seen what happened when Europe opened their doors to jihad. Look at Paris. Look at London. They're no longer recognizable. And I'm going to get myself into a lot of trouble with the folks in Paris and the folks in London. But you know what? That's the fact. They are no longer recognizable. And we can't let that happen to our country. We have incredible culture, tradition. Nothing wrong with their culture, their tradition. Can't let that happen here, and I'll never let it happen to the United States of America.
For Keir Starmer, this meeting could have marked a defining moment, a platform to present his vision of Britain on the global stage. It was a rare opportunity to strengthen ties with Washington, influence key international decisions, and reaffirmed the UK's place as a leading power. But his absence has been impossible to ignore. It has triggered fresh debate over Britain's standing under his leadership and raised uncomfortable questions about the country's influence abroad. Donald Trump's decision to shut Starmer out was not a passing slight, nor simply a reaction to Labour's posture during the 2020 US election. It was deliberate, calculated, and designed to reverberate far beyond the four walls of a single meeting.
Now the looming threat of tariffs. So what are you going to do to dissuade President-elect Trump from imposing tariffs on the UK?
Well, I'm not going to speculate as to what he is going to do. It won't come as any surprise to you that I'm not a fan of tariffs, and therefore we have to make sure that we avoid tariffs. We've got very good trade with the US, as we've got very good trade with other countries around the world. I want to improve on that, and as you will know, I had a meeting with President Trump in September in New York. I've had a number of
Did you
phone
discuss
calls
this?
Since, and including one yesterday. I won't go into the details of what we discussed, but
Donald Trump has long regarded loyalty not simply as a virtue, but as the foundation of every relationship, whether in business, politics, or personal life. And when that loyalty is broken, the consequences are rarely accidental. They are intentional, pointed, and deeply personal. To understand today's tensions, we must return to the 2020 US election. At that time, several figures within the UK Labour Party, including prominent MPs, openly campaigned against Trump, throwing their support behind Kamala Harris and the Democratic ticket. For Trump, this was not just ideological disagreement, it felt like betrayal. And if there is one trait that defines his political style, it is a long memory when it comes to those who oppose him. Excluding Keir Starmer from a critical meeting, then, was no ordinary diplomatic decision. It was a calculated signal, underscoring Trump's insistence on accountability and respect in political dealings. The contrast is telling. While his relationship with Starmer remains cold, his public warmth toward allies, such as Nigel Farage, illustrates the kind of allegiance he values and the alliances he seeks to cultivate.
You have a man from Europe, I don't know if he's here, I saw him backstage. What he did was, and what he is doing is sort of what we did a few years ago. He's doing a great job. He's always been my friend for some reason. He liked me, I liked him. And he's shaking it up pretty good over there. He was the big winner of the last election in the UK, and he's a very spectacular man, very highly respected, Nigel Farage. Well, I love the people of the UK. I mean, I've loved them. They show great support for me. When they were doing that ridiculous thing about a couple of months ago, the people of the UK showed such great support. I love the people of the UK. My mother was born, as you know, in Scotland. She loved Scotland. She loved the Queen. She was a great person, and she loved Scotland.
The stakes could not be higher, and the message is unambiguous. In Donald Trump's world, respect and loyalty are not optional. They are the price of entry. For Keir Starmer, the challenge now extends far beyond his disagreements with the former U.S. president at home. His leadership faces mounting scrutiny, particularly on the contentious issue of immigration. Critics argue that Starmer's policies appear to prioritize newcomers over British citizens, leaving many voters feeling sidelined and disillusioned. His campaign pledges to rebuild trust, put citizens first, and lead with transparency are now under the microscope. The question is whether he can still deliver on those promises. Trump's exclusion of Starmer from a pivotal meeting was no simple retaliation. It was a calculated signal, one with global consequences. In sidelining the Labour leader, Trump underscored a broader point. Loyalty, respect, and influence must be earned, even by allies. For Starmer, the stakes are profound. This was not just a missed diplomatic opportunity, it was a symbolic blow. Britain, historically one of America's closest partners, was left without a voice at the table where alliances, trade, and defense strategies were being forged. The optics are stark, and international observers are watching closely. The contrast is also instructive. While Trump has kept Starmer at arm's length, he continues to praise figures like Nigel Farage, politicians who, in his view, embody conviction, and loyalty. That comparison places Starmer in an unenviable position. Can he prove himself a leader capable of commanding respect on both sides of the Atlantic? Or will he remain overshadowed by rivals who seem to have Trump's ear? The road ahead will demand delicate political maneuvering. Starmer must rebuild trust at home while simultaneously repairing Britain's credibility abroad. Every word and every move will be scrutinized not only by Trump, but by global leaders assessing whether Britain can still exert meaningful influence under Starmer's leadership. For Trump, this episode is both a show of strength and a calculated gamble. By asserting his demand for loyalty, he reinforces his reputation as a leader who plays by his own rules. But there is risk. Will this snub tighten the US-UK alliance by forcing Britain to reassess its leadership, or will it deepen the rift between two historic partners? As this story unfolds, one truth remains clear. The decisions made in the months ahead will shape not just the trajectory of US-UK relations, but also the legacies of both Donald Trump and Keir. For Starmer, this is a reckoning, a chance to prove his leadership on the global stage, or risk being remembered as the man under whom Britain's influence began to fade. For Trump, it is another reminder of his uncompromising style. Alliances built on loyalty, politics played on his terms.